It ain't easy to kill me. It's even harder to keep me dead once you do. Guess that's one of the benefits of having a healing factor as one of my mutant powers. But whoever took me out this time made sure they finished the job. And with Krakoa's resurrection protocols offline, they almost did me in for good. But they didn't know Jubilee had gotten her hands on some of Apocalypse's death seeds. So now that she's brought me back to life as a horseman of death, someone's going to have to answer to the Wolverine. Just as soon as I can remember who the hell they are. Here's what I do remember. The rest of the superhero set were going around in endless circles as they tried to figure out what to do with Apocalypse's faith harvesting machine. We're getting nowhere, and I was getting tired of all the yapping, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. So while they were all bickering over a steel egg draining the gods dry, I went to the spot where Jubilee had dragged Apocalypse's corpse following his untimely demise, the Lazarus Chamber. Usually that was where the big fella went to recover when he was on the brink of death, but this time it didn't do him any good. Instead of bringing him back to life, it ended up being his final resting place. Apparently it was also almost mine. As soon as I saw Apocalypse's body, I knew something was off. I popped a claw and dragged it across his grey skin, only to discover that he didn't have a single drop of blood left in him. That's when things started getting hazy. I vaguely remember being ambushed by someone familiar, someone I trusted, but then everything went blazing red before it suddenly faded to darkness. The others say that when they found me, my body was drained of blood too. Since there were only 2 vampires on the scene, and Blade had been with the other heroes the entire time, all eyes fell on Jubilee. I ain't buying it though. I've known her since she was a kid, and she'd never tried to hurt someone she loved, and if she did, she sure as hell wouldn't have brought them back. But maybe something inside her changed when Apocalypse made her one of his horsemen. I've been there before, and it brought me out the worst in me. As tough as I trained her to be, it still might not have been enough to keep her from giving in to her darkness impulses. Anyway, Blade's in full vampire hunter mode, ready to drive a stake through the kid's heart without any proof she did the deed. He claims she killed Apocalypse, then tried to cover it up by killing me when I got too close to the truth. Now Emma and Daredevil are grilling me for answers, and all I got is this nagging feeling that there is a hell of a lot more going on in this nightmare of a timeline than any of us have started to realise. So this is going to play out a little differently because this may be the gallery card, but it's also part of a Death of Apocalypse mystery. We have a full narrative mystery puzzle element to the game, which... Well, Consular, Emma Frost said, we have uncovered enough evidence to point towards a culprit in the death of Wolverine. Beyond a reasonable doubt, the Daredevil replied confidently. We know that Wolverine chose to investigate the crime scene alone while we were all debating our next move. That's when he discovered that Apocalypse's corpse had been drained of blood. And somewhere soon after, he went into a berserker rage, Emma added, obscuring his memories and making it impossible for me to get a clear mental image of his clear. When Loken's body was discovered, he had lost all of his blood as well, Daredevil continued, which caused some of her allies to jump to conclusions, but I prefer to stick to the facts. And those facts point towards... Bucky, Daredevil said. He struggled to control himself since the days he was a Hydra asset, and it's clear that the more recent experiments on him haven't made things any easier. He's had his fair share of bad breaks, that's certain, Emma said, but we've all got shadows in our past. That doesn't make us killers. In his case, it does, Daredevil said, but if you want more proof, I've got data from a Camino bead scan showing that the hive cells in his body suddenly have traces of a healing factor. Add to that the gouges in the chamber wall, which match the tentacles that come out of his mechanical arm, and, well, I think we have our man. Why would he do such a thing? Emma wondered aloud. That's what I was hoping you could find out, Daredevil replied. Logan's memory may be clouded, but you might be able to see into his... It will be a challenge, Emma admitted. As I said, my telepathic abilities couldn't function properly under the influence of that big metal ball. You wouldn't need it, Wolverine interrupted. Bucky's already told me the truth. The one he told me once in his chamber, before everything happened. What is it? Daredevil inquired. What did he say? I murdered Logan's family, Bucky said, with a lump in his throat. His wife, his child. That revelation must have been what sent Wolverine into a frenzy, Daredevil summarized. A fight must have broken out between the two of you, which explains the marks I felt on the wall. But that doesn't explain the state we found you in. But it does, Emma said, still reeling. He wasn't in control. The ancient entity inside of him took over, subjecting the mind of its host and doing unspeakable all things to its enemy, feasting on him. They both did everything they could to fight it, but there was no use. Well, that's one murder solved, Daredevil said, but sadly it won't be the last. We need to move on. The question is, can you, Logan? I know all too well what it's like to be controlled by someone else, Wolverine said. This ain't his fault, and something tells me we got bigger problems ahead.